All right. 3,
I'm so nervous.
2, 1. Hello. Welcome back to Undefined Engineering. I'm Christian Mokin. I'm here with my... Fuck.
You want to restart that? We can
Let's
take
restart.
that again.
Let's restart. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hello. Welcome back to Undefined Engineering. I'm here with my friend Trent Wilson. We're currently missing Patrick today, but we'll get him back on the podcast next week. Trent, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Trent Wilson. I studied civil engineering at A&M College Station and here to have Christian ask me questions about it, I guess.
Yeah, so this podcast, we're going to touch on some of the stuff between mechanical engineering and civil engineering, see some similarities, some differences, why we chose what we did, and what we do in our jobs now. So, Trent, why'd you end up choosing civil engineering?
Oh, man. So originally when I went to A&M, they had a cool program where like all the freshman engineering majors are equal. And so you can kind of take all the classes together freshman year and kind of decide what engineering you wanted. And so when I originally got in, I originally thought I wanted to do mechanical because it seemed more applicable to different stuff. But I got in and it was just super hard to get in from freshman or whatever into that program because you had to apply again to whatever major you wanted.
Okay, so yeah, A&M, you're not automatically into your major.
No, you're
first year.
just in as like a general engineering major. Then you like rank your 3 and they kind of just go based on your grades for freshman year. But then we like saw videos and stuff of every major and I saw civil engineering and I was like, that sounds cool, like designing buildings or whatever. So, and it was easier to get into. And yeah, applied to it and just did it for the next 3 years. Had a good time.
Nice. That's probably good that I started going to UT Dallas and we automatically get into our major when we're accepted. So if I had to go that route, I'd probably be like a history major or something.
Yeah, no,
there's no way I would have gotten into any engineering my first year.
Yeah, I've not heard of any other school doing it like that. And that's kind of what really drew me to A&M because I was like, I don't know, I'm 18. I have no idea. I've never done engineering. None of my parents are engineers. So I was like, I don't know, mechanical sounds fun, but I truly had no idea.
So is that a common thing? Like people will start and wanting to do like mechanical or something like that and then they'll switch?
Everyone's wanted to do mechanical at first, but since it's so sought after, the requirements to get in, like your GPA from your freshman year, as you're like just learning how to do college and everything, is like ridiculous. I think 3.7, 3.8 your freshman year would like guarantee you in. But anything below that, it was kind of like up for debate because they took other things into account, like application and essays and whatnot.
Jeez, 3.7?
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was like, a 3.5 to me was like, maybe it was a 3.5. I think it was a 3.5. And I was like, 3.5 is like my max. I could not go over that.
Yeah, dude. No, my GPA first semester of college was sitting right around a 2. So
Yeah, because you went for soccer and stuff, so you weren't like super focused on like engineering and doing like great.
Yeah,
you were just like, I got to play.
No, that's rough. And after that first year, is that like when all the classes that you take? Because I know at UT Dallas, the first like year and a half or so, all the engineers basically take the same classes.
Yeah.
Is that where it ends, that first year, or do you keep kind of taking common courses?
You take common courses through your sophomore year. Really, your sophomore year is just like intro to civil engineering, like for me. And so all the other majors have like their intro to mechanical from there. And you still have like a few different calculus classes because you have to take that till junior year. And all the engineering majors are in the same calculus classes and stuff. So yeah, there's a few that you'd still like have overlap with other majors and everything.
That's pretty sick. What were like the hardest courses you took for civil in particular?
So for civil in particular, man, dude, I never really did terrible because civil's pretty easy. So the big thing about civil is like everything's already done for you. There's so many code books and everything because you're designing things that like deal with everyday life. So like the government has it very much down of like this is how everything needs to be. So it's
like a lot of regulation.
Exactly, it's a lot of codes and stuff that you just have to be up to date with. So a lot of the stuff's done for you. So none of the classes are like super hard. I definitely had trouble with matrix of structural analysis because my focus was more like I did graduate just general, so I took all the classes because even in civil there's like water resources or structural
it gets really defined.
Yeah, or roadway, and you could pick, but I kind of had no idea what I wanted to do, so I just chose to take a class in all of them and kind of go from there. And I liked structures, so I chose that one, and that one was pretty hard. It's like using matrix to solve indeterminate structures, which are like structures that you can't solve in normal means. Yeah. So you have to use matrices to like figure out if the structure is like solid or whatnot and what the forces are. And it's very complicated. Yeah. Now you have software that can just do it for you, which is nice.
That's pretty good. So I'm guessing it was like a lot of linear algebra and like.
Yeah. And which I skipped over linear algebra because I wasn't a structures major. So I didn't have to take that. If you wanted to graduate with structures, you had to take that one. But I didn't take it. I just kind of jumped right into it. So I had to learn linear algebra with
matrices?
Yeah.
Like on the fly. That's hard.
Luckily, I had a really good friend who took that class, the linear algebra one, and he kind of like walked me through just what I needed to get caught up. And I think the first few weeks of that class was kind of like refreshing everyone. So it ended up being fine. But I was a little worried. I was like, oh man, should I take this first? It wasn't like a prereq, but it was recommended.
Dude, that's sick. Have you found that like any of the classes you've taken apply to what you're doing now?
No, it's more about like how to think. Some of the structures classes were nice because it told you like how to think of like structures and how to go about them. Like my first job, we didn't have like technical interviews, kind of like how you and Patrick have described, where like they ask you like to solve something. Mm-hmm. It very much was like my now boss was just kind of like, how would you go about this problem? He just kind of wanted to see your thought process. I feel like it's mostly that, like thought processes and how to go about it.
Okay,
and whatnot.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of we've had a lot of similar questions, like thought process.
Yeah, like you were telling me about an interview you had recently, and it was like you asked me that, and I was like, I have no idea, but this is how I'd go about it, which I think is more what they were looking for, not you like really solve it.
Yeah. It ended up being. Did I tell you what the answer was? It ended up being super simple.
They tell you the answer?
No, they didn't.
Oh, you looked it up.
No, I actually was talking with Mason, and after like we calmed down. So in an interview setting, you're super hyped up. Simple questions become complex to you, but yeah, I was talking with Mason in the garage, and he goes, Christian, he's like, think about it. And I was like, what? And he's like, hold on, let me get my calculator out. And he was like, it's just 0.
Mason figured it out?
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, dude, I was like, man, maybe you should have interviewed.
Yeah.
So what Trent was referring to is I recently had an interview with Tesla, and they asked me a brain teasing question.
I don't want to name drop, but yeah.
It's all right. I didn't get the job, so
that's fine.
They asked me if you multiplied all prime numbers between 0 and infinity, how would you get the last digit of the final answer of that multiplication? And when I heard that, I just immediately started panicking because I was not expecting a question like that. But the answer is super simple. As soon as like you get to the 4th prime number in the multiplication or 3rd prime number, it becomes a multiple of 10. And any multiple of 10 is going to have 0 at the end.
So he did what I said then, because my answer was like, well, I would have tried a few first, like the ones I know, just to see if a pattern emerged, which is kind of what Mason did. He just did that, and he's like, oh yeah, it's 0. It just kept being 0.
Well, dude, I did it for like 3 of them, and I was like, I'm not seeing anything.
Oh,
and
you
if
just
I did
one more,
you
would have got it.
It would have had that 0.
Yeah.
That was rough. That was a pretty daunting task. What's like the hardest thing you've been asked in a interview?
An interview? I can't remember. It's been a while since I like did interviews and stuff. Because once you get that first job, you don't really like interview as much.
They're just like, what do you do? Okay.
It's kind of what your networking is at that point. But I'm trying to think. You might have to come back to me on that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I've definitely had a few where I was like, you got me there. I got no idea. It's been a lot of ethical stuff too, like questions.
Sweet. So like as a mechanical engineering graduate, I have no idea what you could do like once you get out of college with a civil engineering degree. So what is it exactly that you do for work?
So for me, there's a lot of stuff you can do in civil engineering, and like they're all very different. But for me, I design bridges. That's like that's kind of a niche I fell into. Like I said, I wasn't really I didn't define my path of like structures or water or anything. Nice. I just happened to get an internship where I was designing bridges, and I kind of liked it. And so whenever I went, God damn, cut that. Anyway, I can't remember now. Anyways, so once I went to the career fair my senior year, I like had that on my resume of like bridge design internship or whatever, and so that kind of let me fall into that niche of like once companies who were hiring bridge engineers saw I'd done it before, they were very much like, yeah, come work with us. Like you could have some experience, which was like very minimal. It was like 3 months of summer internship, so I really had no idea, but they just liked seeing that. Nice. And I've enjoyed it so far. Like I've definitely considered like switching to buildings at some point just to kind of get a flavor of it, but I kind of want to get my PE first and then go from there and figure it out.
Oh yeah. So when you say you design bridges, do you design like entire bridges, or is it like an engineer is dedicated to like a certain part of the bridge? Or
that kind of depends like what company you work for. If you work for one of the really big ones like Michael Baker, HDR, you could be very much like you design just the girder part bridge. The thing that attracted me to my first company and the company I'm at now was they're both kind of smaller, so you design the whole bridge yourself. Even as like it's kind of loud. Dang it, Kona.
Dog break.
Yeah, dog break. Get him out from chewing the bone right next to the camera.
But what were you saying?
Thanks, Hannah.
It attracted you to your company?
Oh, so they're like, so it attracted me to the company because they're smaller companies. So like my first one, it was just 2 bridge engineers. They were kind of just starting it up, like their bridge design department. And so I was like, oh yeah, like they're like, you'll get to design the whole bridge because there's no one you can just like pass it off to. But if you go to the bigger companies, you will get kind of like a niche whenever you like. And another thing is with engineering, a lot of the engineers higher up, they don't do the actual sheet production, which is like using the programs to actually do it. And even in the bigger companies, if you're an EIT, they kind of have like CAD people who like specialize in like just designing bridges on the software because they're very knowledgeable with it. But in the smaller companies, they don't have that. So
you're kind of doing everything?
Yeah, so I got to do everything, which I still do. Like I still do a lot of sheet production. And then sometimes engineers let me do like calculations on certain things. But I get to see the entire bridge, which I think is very good for my career going forward.
I know, dude. That's like in software engineering where they have like back end, front end, and full stack. You're like a full stack civil
full
engineer.
thing. I've done all of it for the bridge portion. So that's kind of cool. I like that a lot so far.
Dude, that's awesome. How is it like fast paced, or do you have a lot of time to like work on these?
That kind of depends on the project. Civil engineering it's the more like, one of the reasons I chose it also, it's the more consistent hiring wise. Like the projects are billed so far out that they know exactly what they're hiring for the next 5 years because they have projects on the books that don't start for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
But it can be fast paced because once those start, it's like you have deadlines because it's like government work. So like if you're late, the government's late even more because it takes them even longer to review your plans because they'll have like comments back every submittal you do.
Nice. Have you ever seen any like daunting safety concerns while you were like drafting bridge designs and stuff like that?
I don't know enough to know like what's a huge safety concern. Like I said, everything's kind of designed for you already. It's just putting the pieces together for your different specifications. So TxDOT, which we're in Texas, so we work with TxDOT, they have like a list of all the standards of every type of bridge you could think of, and you kind of like modify those based on what your specific design case is for that bridge. So I've never seen anything like that, but I've just heard stories of like other bridges that have collapsed. Like the Harbor Bridge recently is like having issues and stuff like that, but I've never been on part of those because those are like multi-million-dollar bridges, and we're just kind of like the smaller 3-span overchange or whatever. So,
Nice.
which is good because I do not feel confident designing anything else at this point. Like I recently passed my PE and I still have 2 more years experience to get. I'm like, thank God, because if someone asked me to sign anything today, I would not be able to do it. I'd be like, nah, I think I'm good. You can do that.
Dude, how was it studying for the
It was
PE?
brutal, dude. Like I don't think I'm smart. I think I just study a lot. So I've had friends through civil engineering who are like way smarter, didn't have to study as much as me, which is like, was fine in the moment. But now when I was studying for the PE, I just studied for like 6 months just to like fail it the first time. And people I know like studied for like 3 months and passed it their first try, like no issue. And I was like, damn. But yeah, I recently took it for the second time and finally passed. But it's been like a straight 2 years of studying to like get that over with because I didn't want to do it any farther out after school.
Oh man, I can't imagine. So I'm not even gonna attempt to take the PE for.
You only need it for civil engineering. I chose the wrong major for not liking tests because like it's like required for civil engineering because they don't want your building to fall or your hospital to fall and kill thousands of people. But if you're whatever you work on, your truck or whatever like fails, it's kind of like electrical had an issue. You might get
a fire might happen, but
yeah, you might get fired, but you won't get like sued or put in jail if your shit falls.
That's true. People are guaranteed to die if you're.
Yeah. Like if my bridge messes up and like someone's on it, like done. Like and your name's on it because you seal every plan. So there's a record of like who designed that every time. Whereas at your company, it might be a little more, not your company, but just like stuff like that, smaller things that might get lost in the shuffle of like who actually did it. What?
It's true. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, which is the big thing of like getting your seal, like your PE seal and everything, is like very nerve wracking to be like, oh man, like this is my first thing I sign. Like if something happens, like I'm legally responsible.
Dang. That's insane.
Yeah, which is very much why I'm like, oh,
it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, which I still need the 3 more years or 2 more years experience definitely to be more confident in myself. But yeah, because I've had a lot of, like my old boss, he is a bridge design guy, and someone came and asked him to like design a patio or something. And he was very much like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. That's not my specialty. I don't want to sign that. I don't want to put my name on that because if it falls, I'm held responsible, and I don't want that coming back on me if something I'm not comfortable with. So it very much is like, if you're not comfortable with it, like don't sign it if you didn't do it. And it's very bad to like sign someone for something they didn't look at or didn't approve.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So once like the professional engineer like signs off on a drawing, right, or signs off on a design, how many more like inspection processes does it go through after that, or is it like this has been approved, let's start building it?
Yeah, it's been approved and they'll start building it, but something can come back where like a change order can come back. And so the contractor who actually goes out and builds it could be like, hey, this isn't working, or can we change this to make it more efficient for us? And it'll come back to the engineer, and they have to sign off on that as well to be like, yeah, that would work with our design. If you want to change this thing, that's fine. Stamp it. Or they could be like, no, if you do that, it'll be a mess up. Like, you have to do it this way.
Okay, that's pretty similar to like our job
Yeah.
too. Like an engineer will sign off on a part drawing or the entire vehicle pretty much. And if we see problems in manufacturing or like see how it can be more efficient, like an engineering change request would get submitted.
Yeah. It's called a change order. That's what they call it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I feel like am I doing good?
Yeah, you're doing
All right.
you're doing really well.
I was like, am I talking too fast?
Dude,
I get kind of nervous.
How long do you think we've been talking?
20 minutes.
Yeah, it's about
I've been watching on my watch, yeah.
Yeah,
So I was curious.
Not too bad. We're doing good on time.
That's very quick.
So like your typical work day, how long is it? Do you work an 8-hour work day? You go overtime or?
That again, like it's cyclical. Like it's very, the whole, like that kind of does with every job. I feel like it's cyclical if you're busy one week or not busy the another week. But for civil engineering, very much like sometimes I'll be struggling to fill 40 hours because we've submitted a project last week. We're waiting for comments back, which when we get those comments back, it'll be a rush to get those done because they want it like as soon as possible. But so like, yeah, one week I could do just 40 hours, have struggled to fill in. Some weeks I could do 50 and that like not be enough. But I don't really like working a huge amount of overtime if I don't have to. But if the project demands it, then yeah, it's no problem.
Nice.
But yeah, it very much is just like what that week kind of looked like and how many projects you're juggling and whatnot.
So as a full-time professional in the engineering industry, do you find that you have a lot of time for side hobbies and stuff like that? I know that's kind of a concern of like students.
Yeah,
starting.
not when I was studying for the PE because it was very much like work 8-9 hours a day, then study for 3 hours. And I was like that for 2 years.
That's a big thing to consider if you choose civil.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And you can, you can wait to do that. So you can like maybe work for 2 years without even starting to study because you don't have to take it like as early as you want. You can take it whenever. I just want to get out of the way because the farther you get away from school, the more you forget of like what's on the test because whatever I learned in school is not what I do in my day-to-day job every day. Yeah. Or like certain topics that are on the test that you still have to know. But yeah, and then now I'm kind of like figuring out like I definitely have more time because like work ends at 5, you don't have homework or anything. So it's pretty nice. Like it's just like you can kind of relax and do whatever hobby you want to do and come hang out with friends on the weekend and whatnot. Film a podcast.
Yeah, film a podcast. You have time to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that was kind of a concern of mine when I was about to graduate. I was like, well, am I going to have time to do anything?
Yeah. But that also depends like what company you work at. If you work at the bigger companies, they could work you harder because they have more projects to do. They have a bigger name, bigger projects, stuff like that.
Job security in the civil engineering industry is
It's one of the best, I think.
It's one of the best.
Because one of my professors always described it, like my first sophomore year, he always said like if the economy's ever in a recession or a depression, what do they always build to kind of bring it back? And it's like roads.
Oh,
That's what the government invests in, is like roads and stuff, which they could do something different now, but historically that's what they've always done. So if you want like job security, it's always do that. And then kind of what I was saying, like the projects are planned so far in advance. Like when COVID happened, I was about to graduate that May like of 2020. And I messaged my now boss. I was like, do I still have a job? Like, do y'all have projects? He's like, oh, we have projects for 3 years. Like, you're totally fine.
Oh, wow.
I was sick.
That's sick. Yeah, no, when COVID happened, Toyota, I mean, all the automobile manufacturing companies completely shut down. A lot of layoffs happened. But Toyota didn't fire a single employee.
That's nice. Some companies will, like the bigger companies, like they're pretty ruthless. Like they will let you go or do that. But the smaller ones are a lot more like personable and care about their employees. Like the first company I was at, they very much like, even in 2008, they didn't fire anyone. They're like, we're not.
Holy cow.
Like we'll hire you, whatever. You can go do other stuff. We'll find other projects, but we're not letting anyone go. It just might be like no overtime, anything like that. So they could limit that.
That's cool. Yeah. I think that's a good thing to look for in a company.
Yeah.
Like the culture.
Definitely.
Especially when things get tough like that. That's nice to know that you have that security.
Yeah. Definitely. And like I work from home now, which was a big plus for me. The company I'm at now, to be able to do that, like work remote.
Oh, wow. That's another thing to consider. You can work from home as a civil engineer. I guess you can do that as a mechanical engineer
Yeah.
if you're like a CAD designer or something like that.
Yeah, the field is very like, I wouldn't say old, but it's more conservative, I think, than a lot of other engineering fields. So it is like all the higher ups are like in their older age. So they very much are like, please come to the office. This company was kind of like an anomaly that they like were doing remote work before COVID even happened. So they were like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh, nice.
We don't really care.
Did you see Elon Musk send that email telling
Yeah,
his entire
to come
staff to
back.
come into the office?
Yeah.
It's like, go pretend to work somewhere else if you're not going to come into the office.
Yeah, which I prefer an office. Like I don't mind it, but just certain life situations, I was like, yeah, it'd be better to work remote for this time of my life right now.
Yeah, I think I prefer hybrid because
Yeah,
my job, you have to like be on the line a lot of the time, but there's also a big portion where you're like reviewing things at your desk and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't have to be here to do this.
Oh, it's all computer. Like we'll do site, like next 2 weeks I'm going like on site visits just to collect data. But like once you do that, you're designing for months at a time. So it's not a ridiculous amount.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the technical part of your job, the actual drawing,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are gonna be really scared that they don't have what it takes to like.
To like work the program and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy because you learn. I didn't learn it in school. I just had to learn it on the job.
What program is it?
So it's TechStop uses MicroStation, which is a Bentley product. Okay. It's like the competitor to Autodesk and AutoCAD and all that stuff. So Civil 3D is like the other civil firm, like civil software you can use. And that one's more focused on like land development and stuff like that. But TechStop requires you to use MicroStation, which TechStop is like the big thing that does all the roadways and stuff in Texas. And they require you to use that program. So every firm has to use it now. But that's what I learned. And it's very easy just to learn on the job. People will show you things and you'll pick it up pretty quick, especially if you're doing it every day in your work, which is usually that's the only program you really use. Depending on your field, you could use other ones to supplement it. But that's the big like drawing program. The sheets have to be made in that.
Nice. That's and it wasn't too tough for you to learn. That's pretty good.
Like the stuff you learn in school, like we learned Civil 3D, but it's very similar idea.
Transitions
all programs are kind of
easily.
similar, yeah, and how they use it. Yeah.
Nice. And how beneficial was it to like get an internship while you were in school?
Oh, it's very beneficial. Like they don't really look at grades so much, like your GPA. It's very much like, what did you learn? What have you done in school? Are you like a well-rounded individual? Especially in civil engineering, it's not. To me, I think like mechanical and like comp sci are very much like your GPA needs to be like super high if you want a good job. But yeah, if you have a good internship, it's fine.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, no, I didn't have like a super high GPA graduating, so I had to stack my resume.
Yeah, dude.
before
Whenever you tell me some of your internships you had and stuff, your co-ops or whatever, I'm always like, I know your GPA won't good enough for that. How did you even swing that?
Yeah, dude, I don't know.
Like your first few, I'm like, what on earth? Like, how do you get those?
It's all LinkedIn, dude. It's all networking.
Yeah, and then hearing you
Spamming.
and Patrick talk about it was like way more effort than I ever had to put into like finding a job and stuff, which is very eye-opening.
Yeah. I'd love to be in Patrick's shoes. I mean,
I know,
he basically has a perfect GPA.
Yeah, he's
right
actually
now.
smart.
Yeah, he's actually smart.
Yeah.
I faked it till I made it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I feel like that's what a lot of people do, though. You know,
Yeah.
like act like they know what they're doing and then get there and actually learn.
I mean, that's me. Like, if someone really asked me a question on something, bridge design, I'd be like, oh, I actually don't know that. Or I could just act like I maybe do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's yeah, it's just life, though, right?
Yeah. Just fake it till you make it on everything.
Yeah. So this camera's gonna stop recording at like 30 minutes automatically.
All right.
And I think we're getting pretty close.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we end the episode?
I don't think so. I didn't prepare anything. I was just kind of going in blind, seeing what questions you asked me.
That's good. There's a lot of good insight into civil
good.
engineering.
Yeah, definitely.
Any common like myths that you want to bust with civil engineering? Because I know in school a lot of people like to talk.
It's not just playing with concrete. That's what I've seen on TikTok and stuff. They're like, engineers just play with concrete. I was like, it is the most common one, but I could not tell you how to make concrete or anything. It's
All
not
right,
my forte.
Playing with concrete is 6 hours of my day.
Yeah.
Right? It's not all of it.
Some people, my friend, that's all he does is like look at concrete mixes and like gets
Oh,
tests
man.
and stuff. And so it is like a thing that we do, but not something I want to do.
Cement. That's concrete,
Yeah,
baby.
that's concrete. Yeah. And it's not like super easy. It's still an engineering, but I would say it's one of the easier ones.
It is one of the easier ones.
Yeah. If you like understand like just physics and stuff. It's very much like just physics based, especially like structural stuff.
It's still hard though. It's
Still
all hard.
Still engineering. The school is probably the harder than the job. But yeah.
I would say that too. School's definitely harder than the job. If you can get through school, you can definitely work in the industry. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Yeah. Thanks, Trent, for coming on the podcast, driving all the way from New York. I know it's a long drive.
Yeah, New York, dude. Yeah.
Thanks
for having me, dude. It's fun.
Yeah.
I'll definitely come back anytime. Patrick actually wakes up this time and can ask questions.
Hopefully Patrick can hop on. He was going to grill you, man. I know he had some good questions for you.
Yeah, I can definitely come back. I don't mind.
Sweet.
Had fun.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Undefined Engineering. We'll catch you next time.